We all must try to understand what is happening. We need to try to understand what is happening. And in my humble opinion, ideology is only going to get in your way. Nobody understands what is happening. Not Buddhists, not Christians, not government scientists, not, no one understands what is happening. So forget ideologies. They betray, they limit, they lead astray. Just deal with the raw data and trust yourself. Nobody is smarter than you are. And what if they are? What good is their understanding doing you? People who walk around saying, well, I don't understand quantum physics, but somewhere somebody understands it. That's not a very helpful attitude toward preserving the insights of quantum physics. Inform yourself. What does inform yourself mean? It means A, transcend and mistrust ideology. Go for direct experience. What do you think when you face the waterfall? What do you think when you have sex? What do you think when you take psilocybin? Everything else is unconfirmable rumor, useless, probably lies. So liberate yourself from the illusion of culture. Take responsibility for what you think and what you do.
You're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me. And since you're all here and engaged in this sort of inquiry and listening to this sort of lecture, I assume that you're all on the process of waking up. Or else you're teasing yourselves with some kind of flirtation with waking up, which you're not serious about. But I assume maybe you are, not serious but sincere, that you are ready to wake up. So then, when you're in the way of waking up and finding out who you really are, what you do is what the whole universe is doing at the place you call here and now. You are something the whole universe is doing in the same way that a wave is something that the whole ocean is doing. The real you is not a puppet which life pushes around. The real deep down you is the whole universe. If you awaken from this illusion, you can feel yourself not as a stranger in the world, not as something that has arrived here by fluke, but you can begin to feel your own existence as absolutely fundamental. So then, let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream, and that you could, for example, have the power within one night to dream 75 years of time. What would you do? What would you really like to happen if you could make it happen? Naturally, as you began on this adventure of dreams, you would fulfill all your wishes. You would get lost, involved in the farthest out adventures. I'm not trying to sell you on this idea in the sense of converting you to it. I want you to play with it. I'm just putting it forward as a possibility of life to think about. And after several nights of 75 years of total pleasure each, you would say, well, that was pretty great. But now let's have a surprise. Let's have a dream which isn't under control. Well, something is going to happen to me that I don't know what it's going to be. And you would dig that and come out of that and say, wow, that was a close shave, wasn't it? And then you would get more and more adventurous. And you would make further and further out gambles as to what you would dream. And finally, you would dream where you are now.
We're not exactly sure with this fuzzy line between consciousness and unconsciousness. I'm thinking that this whole thing might be someone's imagination. It might be your imagination. It might be...
What is real? How do you define real?
It is a deeper question altogether, which is, what do you desire? What makes you itch? What sort of a situation would you like?
That what you call the external world is as much you as your own body. Your skin doesn't separate you from the world. It's a bridge through which the external world flows into you. And you flow into it.
The universe is in us.
What is your motive for action? What is it that drives you in your life today? Not 10 years ago, or are you running the same pattern?
He said, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. But in the end, the most important thing is, what's the purpose of your life? Why are you here?
Purpose of the goal is what it makes of us as people, who we become. Ultimately, though, we have to have a sense that who we even have become has some kind of meaning.
The real issue is, what kind of mental worlds shall people inhabit? What kinds of hope shall be permitted? What kind of value systems shall be allowed? And the value systems that aggrandize the possession of things, the tearing up of the earth, competition, classism, racism, sexism, have led us to the brink of catastrophe. Now, I think we have to abandon Western cultural values and return to the deeper wisdom of the body in connection with the plants. That's the seamless web that leads us back into the heart of nature. And if we can do this, then this very narrow neck of cultural crisis can be navigated. Very little of the past can be saved. The architectonics, the machines, the systems of monetary exchange and propaganda, the silly religions, the asinine aesthetic canons, very little of that can be saved. But what can be saved is the sense of love and caring and mutuality that we all put into and take from the human enterprise.
Strength must build up, not destroy. It should outdo itself, not others who are weaker. Used without responsibility, it causes nothing but harm and death. I can lift the heaviest weights, but I cannot take the responsibility off my shoulders. Because the way we use our strength defines our fate. What traces will I leave on my path into the future? Do we really have to kill in order to live? My true strength lies in not seeing weakness as weakness. My strength needs no victims. My strength is my compassion.
We now acknowledge that all people in the human community have fundamental rights. So the next step in the development of this moral and legal evolution is to say, wait a minute, if we're going to say that people of color have rights just as well as white people have rights, and that women have rights just as well as men have rights, it really makes no difference to say that non-human animals don't have rights and that humans have rights. That is a contradiction. That is a hypocrisy. That animals have these rights just as we have these rights. So therefore, first of all, right guarantees you basic freedoms and liberties. And for the non-human animal, it's going to be their right to bodily freedom. That means we don't experiment on them. That means we don't confine them in cages. That means we don't hunt them. That means that we can't slaughter them for food just because it suits our palate preferences. So to have that right is an important guarantee for animals. Now, a lot of people want to raise the question, well, non-human animals and human animals are very different. Animals don't design spaceships. Animals don't write algebra books. Animals don't compose sonatas. Animals don't think about the world on an ethical level than we do. And they want to point out all of these differences between human and non-human animals. But they're missing the point. The point is not what is different among us and them. The point is what is similar between all of us. That we are all animals. We have all evolved from a long continuum of natural evolution. That it's a continuum of consciousness and subjectivity and of a community of life. And so what really is at issue is what unites us, not what separates us. And what we have, that what we share with the animal world is that we're sentient animals and that we can feel pain and that we know the difference between pleasure and pain, that we have choices, we have preferences, we have a life that is precious to us, and we have young family members that are precious to us, and that we have wishes and plans, and we are subjects of a life. All living animals share this in common. And when you get right down to it, why human beings have rights is because they can feel pain, and they have these kinds of preferences. And the animals live in the same kind of world as we do at that level. And that's all that is needed for any living being to have rights. If you can feel pain and you have preferences, then no one ought to ever take those preferences away from you and inflict pain on you for any reason. If you have a right, you have a right to your own integrity of your body.
On the heath, King Lear asked Gloucester, "How do you see the world?" And Gloucester, who is blind, answered, "I see it feelingly. I see it feelingly." Three primary life forces exist on this planet: nature, animals, and humankind. We enter as lords of the earth, bearing strange powers of terror and mercy alike. But human beings should love animals as the knowing love the innocent, and the strong love the vulnerable. It seems the fate of many animals is either to be unwanted by man, or wanted too much. Isn't it enough that animals the world over live in permanent retreat from human progress and expansion? And for many species, there is simply nowhere else to go. takes nothing away from a human to be kind to an animal. Make the connection. Earthlings.
That what I am involves what you are. And the problem is, you see, we haven't been taught to feel that way. The myths underlying our culture and underlying our common sense have not taught us to feel identical with the universe, but only parts of it, only in it, only confronting it, aliens. And we are, I think, quite urgently in need of coming to feel that we are the eternal universe.
What we need is a sense of unity, not an idea of unity, not an ideology of unity, because if there ever was an ideology of unity, it was communism, and the pieces are still falling from the explosion of that system of thought. We need a feeling of unity, so it doesn't come out of intellectual exhortation. It comes out of a personal act of courage made by the individual, an act of courage which involves surrender. Surrender is the opposite side of the coin of ego. The central issue of our times is our inability to surrender to what we know is right. We have the ability to feed the hungry. We have the ability to educate our children, to clean up our environment, to eliminate sexism, to eliminate racism. The question is, can we change our minds fast enough?
The hour is late. The clock is ticking. We will be judged very harshly if we fumble the ball. We are the inheritors of millions and millions of years of successfully lived lives and successful adaptations to changing conditions in the natural world. Now the challenge passes to us, the living, that the yet to be born may have a place to put their feet and a sky to walk under. Let's not whore ourselves to nitwit ideologies. Let's not give our control over to the least among us. Rather, claim your place in the sun and go forward into the light. The tools are there. The path is known. You simply have to turn your back on a culture that has gone sterile and dead and get with the program of a living world and a re-empowerment of the imagination.
It's just a ride. We can change it anytime we want.
You didn't get as far as you'd like to. Just keep going.
If anything is going to happen, if anything is going to change on this planet with the current paradigm, it's not going to happen by signing petitions, calling attention to the program itself, because we are the ones that process energy. We are the ones that transform energy. Nothing in the universe happens without the transformation of energy. It's the sound that changes. It's the vibration, it's the energy that creates the form.
Non-conceived reality.
What is real is you and your friends and your associations, your highs, your orgasms, your hopes, your plans, your fears. And we're told, no, we're unimportant, we're peripheral, get a degree, get a job, get a this, get a that, and then you're a player. You don't even want to play in that game. You want to reclaim your mind. Your mind.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
No society wants you to become wise. It is against the investment of all societies. If people are wise, they cannot be exploited. If they are intelligent, they cannot be subjugated. They cannot be forced in a mechanical life to live like robots. They will assert their individuality. They will have the fragrance of rebellion around them. They would like to live in freedom. Freedom comes with wisdom, and no society wants people to be free. The communist society, the fascist society, the capitalist society, the Hindu, the Mohammedan, the Christian, no society. Because the moment they start using their intelligence, they become dangerous. Dangerous to the establishment. Dangerous to the people who are in power. Dangerous to the haves. Dangerous to all kinds of oppression, exploitation, suppression. Dangerous to the churches. Dangerous to the states. Dangerous to the nations. In fact, a wise man is a fire, alive, a flame. But he cannot sell his life. He cannot serve them. He would like rather to die than to be enslaved.
When we have a feeling in our hearts, we're creating electrical and magnetic waves inside of our bodies that extend beyond our bodies into the world around us. And what's so interesting is the research shows that those waves extend not just 1 meter or 2 meters, many, many kilometers beyond where our heart physically resides.
The hour is late. It's time to decide.
choice right now between fear and love.
Then there is no difficulty in you having a white coat, or he having a red coat, or me having a black coat. These distinctions no longer become such a dominant factor in one's life.
We stand united as one.
The world is like a ride at an amusement park, and when you choose to go on it, you think it's real, because that's how powerful our minds are. And the ride goes up and down and round and round. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored, and it's very loud, and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, and they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid, ever, because this is just a ride. And we kill those people. Shut him up. We have a lot invested in this ride. Shut him up. Look at my furrows of worry. Look at my big bank account and my family. This has to be real. It's just a ride. But we always kill those good guys who try and tell us that. You ever notice that? And let the demons run amok? But it doesn't matter, because it's just a ride. We can change it anytime we want. It's only a choice. No effort, no work, no job, no savings of money. A choice right now between fear and love. The eyes of fear want you to put bigger locks on your door, buy guns, close yourself off. The eyes of love instead see all of us as one. Here's what we can do to change the world right now to a better ride. Take all that money we spend on weapons and defense each year and instead spend it feeding, clothing, and educating the poor of the world, which it would many times over, not one human being excluded, and we can explore space together, both inner and outer, forever in peace.